canned biscuits, pizza sauce. You can actually use spaghetti sauce if you don't have pizza sauce. Pepperoni if you like that, or you can use something different. We'll look at the recipe in a moment. And mozzarella cheese or a similar type of cheese. You can do substitutions. Like I said, you can use a spaghetti sauce for this, tomato sauce. You can put some other type of topping on there, or no topping. You can use the mozzarella cheese or Parmesan cheese or a grated type of Italian type cheese. In the video, I'm going to show you step by step how to make these. This is the recipe. Just a quick overview. The trick in this is preparing the biscuit crust properly. I'll show you how, but this is just a very quick visual about how to prepare the pizzas and how to put them on the pan and how to place them in the oven. And this is what they look like when they come out. So let's take the long version now. The very basic equipment that you'll need is 2 cookie sheets. If you have dark cookie sheets, just know that the crust of the biscuits or the pizza dough is going to be a little bit crunchier than it's going to be on a shiny pan, and it may cook a little bit faster. So there's that. You're going to need a 1/2 cup measuring cup. You're going to need a tablespoon. You're going to need a spoon like about this size maybe to help you mash the dough down. If you don't have that, you can use the back of your tablespoon. You're going to need something to cut the pieces with when they're done, either a pizza cutter or a knife. You're going to need something to scoop the pizzas off the plate, off the cookie sheet onto a plate. And if you don't have a turner, then you can actually probably just use a fork. Then to grease the pan, you're going to either need to use Pam, and if you use Pam, then you're going to take the pan and hold it over the sink and spray the Pam over the sink. That way you don't have Pam falling on the floor or on the countertop, which means you just have to clean it up. It's just easier to clean from the sink than it is the countertop or the floor. What I like to do is to take a paper towel and just use a little bit of Crisco. So let me show you how I do that. The way that I grease a pan is just take the shortening, get a little bit in there, make a big X on the cookie sheet, and then just scoot that Crisco, that shortening all over the cookie sheet. Easy. Do it for the other one. If you want a crunchy bottom, you can use a little bit more Crisco. You can use a dark cookie sheet. If you want a softer bottom, then use about this much and a silver or light colored sheet. Again, the other ingredients that you'll need, we've already talked about. You also need an oven. The first thing we do is to preheat the oven to 425 degrees. Some people think that they don't have to preheat the oven, but if you're putting something in there that you want to go boom or to expand when you're baking, you do need to preheat the oven. Cutting up to 500 degrees and cooking it at a higher temperature is not the same. I'll know that this oven's preheated when this light comes on and tells me, hey, it's preheated. It actually doesn't say hey, and it doesn't say preheated. The light actually just comes on, and that's all that happens. No magic. If you're making these at home, then you can just dip your fingers into some of the Crisco and just rub it all over both of your hands like it's lotion. For this video, I'm going to actually put on disposable gloves just because it's a little bit cleaner. Open my biscuits. Press the spoon on the seam until I hear it pop. I'm going to put 4 of the biscuits on one sheet, 4 on another. So they're going to rise a little bit when I'm cooking, so I don't want them touching. I'm going to get a little bit of Crisco and put on my hands. So all I'm going to do now is just flatten these out till they're about 4 inches, because they're going to double in size. So one mistake people make is they don't spread these out big enough. And then when the biscuits start rising, remember biscuits double in size. When the biscuits start rising, all the good stuff on top slides off. We don't want that. So we're actually going to make a slight little well in the middle and push the dough out so that it forms a slight little edge. That's going to help keep all that goodness inside. Some people like to do it with a spoon. They actually can do this much easier with a spoon than with their fingers. It does make for a prettier base. So whichever method works for you best. You see that using the spoon, you're not really getting your fingers in there. And if you're not using plastic gloves, if you're not using a spoon, you better have really clean hands and not long fingernails, because we don't want to germ this stuff up. You see how pretty the spoon makes that? And then just make sure that the middle is like a little bit lower. And you can actually even make them thinner than this. Because like I said, it's going to double up. We have made them so thin before that you could almost see the cookie sheet through the bottom of the biscuit. And they still turn out okay. So you can see the ones made by the spoon are a little bit more attractive than the ones that are freestyling. Your choice. Let's do this other pan. So now we have 4 pizza crusts on that pan and 4 pizza crusts on that pan. Now it's time for the pizza sauce. I'm going to go ahead and measure my 1/2 cup, and you can measure this in a liquid measuring cup if you want to. Since we're not baking, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to put about a tablespoon on each one. And the temptation is to put more on there, but then it just wants to run off. And then just use the back of the spoon or the other spoon to kind of spread it out. Yes, it's going to look thin, but the danger in putting too much on there is it's going to slide off when we start baking. Smells so good. Oh, got a little sloppy there. That's how that looks with the pizza sauce on. Now you can cut the pepperoni, you can measure it. I'm just going to eyeball a little bit of it because I'm making this from home. If I'm doing it in a controlled situation, you might be limited as to how much pepperoni you have on it. Just don't touch pepperoni and put it back in the package. Germs. I'm just going to put 3, maybe 4 on each one. If you don't like pepperoni, you can put sausage. whatever else you like. Maybe that one gets 5, maybe not. Yeah, why not? Why not? Pepperoni's on. You can use as little as a half a cup of cheese or a whole cup of cheese, and you can actually measure it out. I'm going to try to measure it out exactly right, but you can also eyeball this if you're just making it for yourself. If you want to put a tablespoon on each one, it's probably going to take you a cup if you're putting it on there, kind of like keeping up like I am. If you're using the Parmesan cheese, it's going to be a little bit different measurement. And then you can see that you could possibly put a second tablespoon of cheese on these. So I will put a second tablespoon of cheese on one pan and leave one pan with 1 tablespoon. And don't leave any cheese on the cookie sheet because it'll just cook on there and make a mess. So we'll leave this pan with 1 tablespoon of cheese, and we'll put extra on these since they're a little bit larger. One, another one. And just make sure you don't have any cheese on the cookie sheet or hanging over it that's going to cook on the cookie sheet, because it will burn and make a mess. And you want to eat that cheese. You don't want it on the cookie sheet. So we have 2 tablespoons of cheese on those and 1 tablespoon of cheese. Now we're going to put these in the oven, and I do not have a convection oven, so the ones on the bottom are going to cook a little bit faster because it's closer to the heating element than the ones on the top. I'm going to put the pans in this way so that they are centered on the racks. Set my timer for 10 minutes. I'll check them at 10 because I can always bake them a little bit longer, but I can't unbake them. Right? And the cool thing is you can make these without making too big of a mess in the kitchen. Always clean up after yourself. Leave space nicer than when you got there. The timer just went off for 10 minutes, and I think they're brown enough for me, so I'm going to take them out. Pan's hot. Use oven mitt. And make sure you put them on a surface that can withstand the heat. So these are our pizzas with 2 tablespoons of cheese. These are the ones with 1 tablespoon of cheese. And you can see it almost cooked off right there, but not quite. I'll see what the crust looks like on the bottom. So you see, since I have a shiny pan, it's not going to have a very crunchy bottom. It could probably actually cook a little bit longer. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take them up. I think I'll put those back in the oven on the bottom rack for a minute. Take one of these off, transfer it to the plate. Using my pizza cutter to cut it. Are you hungry enough for 4 pieces or 6? And that's what it looks like. Yum. Yummy. Just check the bottoms of these other ones. Oh, much better. Yummy.